All right, let's dive into the incredible story of vitamin E. For a while there, it was hailed as a total miracle pill, the kind of thing people thought could prevent everything from heart disease to cancer. But, as you'll see, that story took a very, very unexpected turn. So what's the real deal? Is vitamin E the health hero we all wanted it to be, or does taking it in high doses actually come with a hidden risk? That's the big question we're going to tackle today. To really get why everyone was so obsessed with vitamin E, we've got to go back to the beginning. It all started with this one simple but really powerful scientific idea, the antioxidant promise.
Okay, so to set the scene, you have to meet the villains of our story. These things called free radicals. Just picture them as these tiny, unstable molecules wreaking havoc inside our bodies. They bounce around, damaging our cells in a process called oxidation. And yeah, that damage is linked to aging and a ton of chronic diseases.
And this is where vitamin E was supposed to swoop in and be the hero. See, as a powerful antioxidant, the idea was that it would literally step in the way, intercept these free radicals and neutralize them before they could do any harm. It was supposed to break that chain of damage and keep our cells safe. The theory was just so simple and elegant.
And that simple, elegant theory, especially when it was backed by some exciting early science, well, it didn't stay in the lab for long. It quickly spiraled from scientific hope into massive, massive public hype.
And the whole thing just snowballed. In the early 90s, you get these promising lab studies. Then you see these big observational studies that seem to confirm it all. By the late 90s, it felt like a sure thing. And you bet, sales of high-dose vitamin E supplements just went through the roof.
And it was findings like this that were just so incredibly persuasive. I mean, think about it. You see a headline from a huge study of nurses saying that the ones taking the most vitamin E had a 30 to 40% lower risk of heart disease. Of course people paid attention. It made the whole promise feel solid, real. But this is where the story completely flips on its head. After all that hope and all that hype, scientists put the theory to the ultimate test. And well, the results pretty much shocked everyone. You see, they moved beyond just observing people and onto what's considered the gold standard of medical evidence, large, randomized, controlled trials. This is where you take a big group, you give half of them the real supplement, the other half a placebo, and you compare what happens. It is the absolute best way to prove if something actually works. And the difference was just night and day. That early promise of lower heart disease, it just vanished when they put it under a microscope. A huge trial called the HOPE study found that high-dose vitamin E did nothing to prevent heart attacks or strokes. And then it got even worse. A follow-up found it actually increased the risk of developing heart failure.
So this wasn't just a simple case of a supplement not living up to its promises. The more scientists looked, using these top-tier trials, the more they realized high-dose vitamin E wasn't just useless. It could be actively harmful.
A really troubling pattern of serious risks started to pop up. We're talking about an increased risk of heart failure, a type of stroke caused by bleeding in the brain, and, when scientists pooled all the data together, even a higher risk of death from any cause. And for men, another huge red flag went up: prostate cancer.
This number is just staggering. The massive SELECT trial was actually set up to see if vitamin E could prevent cancer. They had to stop the study early. Why? Because it turned out that men taking 400 IUs of vitamin E every day didn't have a lower risk of prostate cancer. They had a 17% higher risk, a total and very dangerous reversal.
So why? Why would something that's essential in our food turn out to be harmful in a pill? Well, the leading theories point to a few key problems. First, the doses in supplements are just enormous, way more than you'd ever get from food. Second, these huge doses can mess with important body functions like blood clotting. And maybe most critically, most supplements only give you one of the 8 forms of vitamin E. Pumping your body with just one type in such a high dose might throw the body's whole natural balance out of whack.
So, after all of this, where do we land? What does all this evidence mean for us today? Let's break down the final verdict from the scientific community. The dosage gap here really tells the whole story. What your body actually needs, the recommended dietary allowance, is just 15 milligrams a day. A typical high-dose supplement that you'd buy at the store, that has 268 milligrams or more. We're talking over 17 times the recommended amount. It just shows the massive difference between getting nutrients from food versus a megadose in a pill.
Now, the great news is that getting all the vitamin E you need is actually really easy and totally safe when you get it from food. Simple stuff like sunflower seeds, almonds, peanuts, vegetable oils, and leafy greens like spinach are all fantastic sources that give you the vitamin in its natural, balanced form.
And that all leads us to the very clear, bottom-line recommendation from years and years of research. For healthy people, taking high-dose vitamin E supplements hoping to prevent disease is just not recommended. The evidence for any benefit isn't there, but the evidence for real risk definitely is.
The whole story of vitamin E really leaves us with a much bigger question, doesn't it? One that applies to so much in nutrition and wellness. When it comes to our health, we often just assume that if a little bit of something is good, then more of it must be better. But as we've just seen, that can be a really dangerous assumption. Thanks so much for tuning in.